These days, it seems like every live-action movie to come out of Disney is a remake or an adaptation of one of their classic animations. So you would be forgiven if you thought that their latest fairy tale film, The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, was somewhat of a soft adaptation of the famous Nutcracker sequence in Walt Disney's 1941 musical masterpiece, Fantasia. However, much like 2010's The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which paid homage to Fantasia's Mickey Mouse sequence in one small scene, as its source material, Nutcracker and the Four Realms mostly relies on Tchaikovsky's ballet, Alexandre Dumas' 1844 novel Story of a Nutcracker, and E.T.A. Hoffmann's original story, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, while also moving in its own new original directions. That being said, there are definitely a few small nods, winks, Easter eggs, and references to Walt Disney's Fantasia scattered throughout the film. In this video, I will attempt to connect the dots between the two films and explain just how the legacy of Fantasia influenced Nutcracker and the Four Realms. Please allow me to set the record straight with this edition of Explaining Disney. Fantasia is often considered Walt Disney's most visionary and experimental work, featuring a display of some of the finest, most revolutionary, and most technically groundbreaking animation from Disney's golden age, all set to a selection of classical music numbers and suites. While many pieces chosen for the feature were close to 100 years old at the time, some even older, such as Bach's Toccata in Fugue, Mussorgsky's Night on Bald Mountain, Schubert's Ave Maria, and Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, Disney also chose a number of more contemporary and more recognizable pieces, like Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring, Ponchielli's Dance of the Hours, and Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite. Despite how iconic and well known the music of Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite is today, the music was only 46 years old at the time Walt went into production on Fantasia, and the ballet had never been performed in full in America. It was only after its inclusion in Fantasia that the ballet would be premiered in its full form in the US. In a way, Fantasia sparked the public interest that would eventually make the Nutcracker an iconic Christmas tradition in the Western world in the first place. The Nutcracker sequence in Fantasia runs for 15 minutes and is in fact itself separated into a number of animated sequences, each separating 6 movements from the suite: the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy, Chinese dance, dance of the reed flutes, Arabian dance, Russian dance, and waltz of the flowers. Fantasia's depiction of Nutcracker, much like the rest of its sequences, is not a literal adaptation of its source material, more of a dreamlike fantasy using highly stylized art motifs to visualize the music itself, as Walt would put it, like something you see with your eyes half closed. The idea of the Four Realms is a new addition to the Nutcracker story in the new movie, and it would seem that this is likely something that is a direct, if not somewhat discreet, nod back to Fantasia. Each of the Four Realms in the movie, the Land of Sweets, the Land of Amusements, the Land of Flowers, and the Land of Snowflakes, all have vastly different art design, very much taking cues from the various different sections and visualizations present within Fantasia's Nutcracker. The Land of Sweets and the Land of Amusement seem to be inspired more so by Tchaikovsky's ballet than Disney's Fantasia, using the classic iconography of sweets and toys so synonymous with the dance production. In fact, the Land of Sweets was an actual land in the ballet itself. Though I did notice that the Land of Amusements has thousands of red mushrooms scattered across its landscape, which can be seen throughout the film whenever the characters are in the realm. Especially given how dominant they appear in some scenes, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that these are used as a small homage to the Chinese dance from Fantasia, which features a troupe of dancing red mushrooms and are likewise some of the most recognizable iconography from the film. The Land of Flowers and the Land of Snowflakes, on the other hand, seem to take a direct inspiration from Fantasia on the whole. The Land of Flowers, whose entire landscape is made up of, well, flowers, as well as of inhabitants who almost feel like anthropomorphic depictions of flowers. We can easily trace the influence of this to the Russian dance, Dance of the Flutes, and Waltz of the Flowers in Fantasia, which all depict an entire land of flowers who dance and glide in time with the music. The windmills scattered throughout the Land of Flowers also felt somewhat reminiscent of Walt Disney's classic Silly Symphonies short The Old Mill, the revolutionary short film which, along with other Silly Symphonies, served as a precursor to Fantasia itself. However, I could just be, clutching at straws with this one. Likewise, the Land of Snowflakes, filled with icy inhabitants and a snowy landscape, can also be traced back to the Waltz of the Flowers in Fantasia, in which snowflakes fall and snow fairies glide around spreading winter frost. There's only one very small scene set in the Land of the Snowflakes in the movie, but I thought it was very reminiscent of Fantasia, especially in the way the snowflakes in the land fell in a very similar movement and with a very similar design to those in Fantasia. Unfortunately, none of the the released visual media from the film show this, however the movement and depiction of the snowflakes is not too dissimilar to how they're shown in the slightly stylized Four Realms ballet sequence in the movie. There's also a very interesting realm transition in the ballet sequence where Misty Copeland's Snow Fairy moves between the land of flowers and the land of snowflakes, in a very similar way to how the snow fairies are used to transition between autumn and winter in Fantasia. The ballet sequence also gives us another glimpse of windmills. Come on guys, just let me have the windmill reference. I'm trying real hard here. I don't have a lot to work with this film. While the iconography of these two realms certainly take artistic inspiration from Fantasia, it should be mentioned that flowers and snowflakes are also quite prevalent in the ballet, so really, this entire video could just be an enormous stretch. Other than these small, almost unnoticeable references, Nutcracker and the Four Realms does very little to connect itself to or pull inspiration from Fantasia. I guess given that the Fantasia sequence doesn't exactly have a narrative, that's kind of hard to do, so the visual inspiration route was really the only way to go. Before we close the video out though, I must mention the most obvious throwback to Fantasia, and my favourite one of them all. During the movie's ballet sequence, we get a couple of very short shots of the production's conductor conducting his orchestra, which is silhouetted across a colourful background. This is of course a very, very direct visual homage to the live-action Leopold Stokowski sections in Fantasia, which were used to string together the various animated musical segments. I love that the filmmakers found a way to blend this in. I loved it. This is my favorite thing about the movie, and it only lasted like 4 seconds, and it gives even the most casual Fantasia fan a small throwback to the classic film. If this is your first time viewing one of my videos, you like what you've seen, you'd like to see more like this in the future, then please don't forget to hit that big old subscribe button up on your screen right now, and also hit that like button down below if you're feeling extra generous. Also, don't forget to check out my many social media accounts, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon. Thanks for watching guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day.